Hello artists, welcome to art class. I'm Deanna and I'm here to inspire the artist in you to come out to play. This is our first class in the Drawing Skills series. If you're new to this art class, I welcome you to start right here at this episode. If you have no previous art training experience, you will be able to keep up. And if you have experience, you are sure to learn some new skills. I've designed this class for adults, but young people are most welcome to join us. Today's class will get us ready to start an incredible journey of learning to see as the artist sees. We will review the materials list, create a useful drawing tool, and also complete 3 preliminary drawings. If you've completed the Quick Sketch series, you will use nearly all of the same materials, with one important addition. Let's get started. Before we discuss drawing materials, I must give credit to Dr. Betty Edwards, an American artist who continued her formal training in art education and caused nothing short of a revolution. Sparked by the research of a psychobiologist on the hemispheres of the human brain, Betty began to shine light into the artist's mind, and perhaps for the first time was able to systematically educate people to think and see like an artist. In 1979, Betty wrote the first edition of the groundbreaking book, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, which is now in its 4th edition. I did not learn to draw through the exercises and techniques that Betty taught. At a young age, I unconsciously learned these skills on my own. I say unconsciously because I did them without any awareness of what I was actually doing. I, like most artists, believed artistic abilities were a gift and a bit of mystery. After completing a bachelor's degree in fine art, I owned and operated an art school. I worked with students who seemed to have a natural artistic ability and many who did not. I discovered the frustration of teaching students who didn't know how to draw, even though I believed we were seeing the same thing. On my more honest days, I wondered if I was having any positive impact on my students' abilities to succeed. It was not enough for me to show someone by doing. And all of the fancy methods and steps I created to convey the process did not seem to guarantee any aha moments with the students. Sometimes I thought I was getting through to a student, but maybe I wasn't. Betty Edwards describes the same frustration in her early years teaching art, which caused her to look into psychology for answers. Over time, Betty created a process of learning that is succinct and points directly at the shortest path to mastery. As I studied what Betty came to understand, I could finally see with perfect clarity what my own brain was doing. She was right on. And now I can no longer separate her teachings from my own. I'm honored to share Betty's work with you. She's enabled me to empower you. This journey we do together through the Drawing Skills series is going to feel like magic. Your skills will increase at an impressive rate. But there actually is no magic, and there never was. Sure, there are plenty of step-by-step drawing classes and books, but they fail to empower the student to draw without the steps. Watching me or any other artist work may be entertaining or even relaxing, but it isn't necessarily educational. This class is not about me and my artwork. It's about you and your ability to see as an artist sees, and therefore your ability to draw realistically and with mastery. Just like learning to read, to ride a bike, to drive a car, to swim, or to play a sport, or any other common ability that most people learn, you can learn to draw. There are 5 essential seeing skills that we will learn in the Drawing Skills series. With the mastery and integration of these 5 skills, you will no longer need me, just the same as how you no longer need your driver's education instructor in the car with you after you've received your driver's license. Will it take years of practice to learn these 5 skills? No. If you focus and apply yourself, you can learn all of these skills in only a matter of days, really. At the end of this series, we'll be free to play with drawing, to push the boundaries, to cultivate creativity, to extend drawing skills into other mediums like paint, digital, and unconventional materials. And you'll also be free to use those skills to create art from your imagination and your memory. There's plenty for us to do together, and our journey starts with the 5 seeing skills. I call this video series Drawing Skills, but really it should be titled Seeing Skills. Briefly, here are the 5 skills we'll learn in the series. The perception of edges, the perception of spaces, the perception of relationships, the perception of lights and darks, and the perception of the whole image. I'm excited to go into more detail about these skills, but we first need to do some preparation. Let's go to the drawing board. We have a new materials list which you can find and download in the show notes. You may already have many of these items, but if you don't, you should be able to get everything you need at your local art supply store or online. For quick sketching, the soft black B pencils really serve that type of drawing, but now it's not as important to use B pencils. It's more a matter of your own personal preference. If you have a set of drawing pencils that includes both H and B pencils, feel free to experiment with all of them. And if all you have is a yellow number 2 school pencil with a pink eraser on the end, that works just fine too. This scale shows the relationship of the H and B pencils. The H means hard and the B means black or soft. The common number 2 yellow pencil falls right in the middle, HB. The larger the number coordinating with the H, the harder the graphite. See how it gets a little bit more gray, lighter gray? The larger the number coordinating with the B, the softer and the blacker the graphite. You'll need to sharpen your pencils, and you can use any type of pencil sharpener. This little one works just fine. An electric one works great. And if you're an adult and you trust your shaving skills, you can cut away the wood and carefully expose the graphite. In a few weeks, we'll use the jumbo graphite stick. There it is right here. A 4B is perfect. Graphite sticks are typically used as a pencil when creating large drawings, but for now, we'll use them on its side to make a medium gray tone on a sheet of white paper. By first toning the paper, we can create a whole image with a range of tones very quickly. I prefer the jumbo stick over the skinny ones that are often curved and don't tone the paper quite as well. You'll use blending stumps and other blending tools. Stumps are solid rolls of paper used to blend graphite in small areas. And tortillons are hollow and very pointy, useful for blending tiny areas. And also chamois or some other soft cloth is used for blending the graphite in large areas, such as a whole sheet of paper. You're free to use any type of eraser. The most important for our purposes, I believe, is the white eraser. It's very gentle on the paper. It makes crumbs, so as you erase, either blow the crumbs away or use a large soft brush to sweep them away. There is a risk of smearing your drawing if you brush it away with your hand. You can also use a kneaded rubber eraser that picks up graphite from the paper without any rubbing. You knead and stretch and then shape the eraser in the shape that you need, and then you press and lift or press and drag. This eraser doesn't make any crumbs. You could, of course, also use the pink eraser, but some pink erasers have a little bit of sand in them and they're kind of rough on the paper. Of course, you'll need some paper. And Bristol vellum is a great, heavy, and slightly rough paper that's perfect for our needs. You can buy this kind of paper as loose sheets in a ream. And it also comes in a variety of sketch pads. If the pad reads sketch on its cover, it's likely Bristol vellum paper inside. Now, if you don't have any of this kind of paper, you can, of course, use plain old printer paper. But paper that already has lines on it will distract from your drawing, so upgrade to paper that's completely blank as soon as you can. We're almost finished with the materials you need to get started, but there is a bit more that's really important. While you can use less than ideal drawing materials, please do everything you can to acquire what you need to create this next item, the picture plane with the Viewfinder. It's an invaluable tool that you can use over and over again for many years. This is a picture plane. It's a sheet of plastic that we can use to trace two-dimensional and three-dimensional images to get our drawing started. It's used initially, and then we put it down to complete the drawing. There are two crosshair lines drawn on the picture plane that break up the drawing area into 4 smaller areas, enabling us to navigate more easily. This is a viewfinder. Viewfinders can be used independently from the picture plane, and therefore they can be any size, from tiny like this or larger like this. It's used to isolate what's included in the drawing. Anything that doesn't fit inside this viewfinder is not included, and this will help prevent feeling overwhelmed when there's a lot in your field of vision. We're going to use the picture plane and the viewfinder together as one tool, so the outside edge of both need to be the same size. But for the window of the viewfinder, we can use a variety of sizes. We'll clip these two together, and you can move them around it until you find the perfect composition. You can also move them closer and further away from your face to adjust what fits inside. Did you see what I just did? I closed one eye. When looking through the viewfinder and picture plane at three-dimensional things, you need to turn off one of the cameras in your head. You have 2 cameras, or 2 eyes. Seeing through 2 eyes is what allows us to see three-dimensionally, but drawings are only 2-dimensional. The picture plane will easily assist you to see something in 3 dimensions and convert it to 2 dimensions, but you need to look only through 1 eye or else you'll get confused. More on this later. Let's go back to the drawing board and we'll create our picture plane and viewfinder. You need a sheet of clear plastic, or specifically acrylic plastic. The common brand name for this is plexiglass. It's a substitute for real glass in picture frames. It does not need to be very thick, just thick enough to not be too floppy when you hold it upright. I do not recommend that you use real glass because it's heavy, and it's also a cut hazard along that edge, and if it should break. If you're stuck with glass instead of plastic, please put tape over the sharp edges and be careful and upgrade to plastic as soon as you can. It comes with a protective sheet of film, so be sure you remove that, and it usually comes on both sides. In the US, we can easily buy 8 by 10 inch plexiglass because that's a common picture frame size. And outside of the US, it's a common size is A4. You shouldn't need to cut plexiglass, so buy an 8 by 10 or an A4 size according to what's common where you live. You'll need a permanent marker, one that can make a very slender line. A new fine Sharpie will work perfectly. Find the center of the width. So this is an 8 by 10, so it'll be 4 inches. You'll use a ruler to mark your 4 inches, and then on the bottom, 4 inches, and then draw a line. Then do the same thing on the other edge. This is 10 inches this way, so it'll be 5 inches. So mark it 5 and 5 and draw the line this way. You'll end up with this. Now this side has the permanent marker lines, and we want them to stay forever. So I'm going to make this the back side, and always use the front side to work on. I put a tiny sticker here on this side to remind me that this is the front. So now we know this is the front, and we need another marker to use on this picture plane. The best type is a non-permanent fine marker that can be easily removed from the picture plane with water. This brand, Vis-a-Vis, works very well. So what you'll do is draw on the front side, whatever the drawing is for the assignment, and then you'll use a cloth of whatever sort. It can be a tissue or whatever, and put a little bit of water on it, and this will come right off. But of course, the permanent lines will stay. Let's make our viewfinders. You'll need 2 to 3 sheets of black paper cut to the same outside size as your plexiglass, so trim if you need to. You can use craft paper, scrapbook paper, poster board, or mat board. Thicker than mat board such as foam core is probably too thick. This is scrapbook paper and it will work just fine. Whatever paper you use, black is the best color choice. What size should we make the window in our viewfinders? Let's make a large one and a medium one. The exact measurements are on the materials list. And these windows need to be right in the center of the paper, so be sure to carefully measure the center of the paper before you start cutting. You can use scissors to cut the hole, and you can use a ruler and a knife or an X-Acto blade, but maybe you don't have a mat cutter like I do, so scissors and a blade with a ruler will be just fine. And remember, if you're a young person, please ask for assistance from an adult so that you can avoid shedding any blood. So I've got 3 sizes here that I've already marked, and I marked the center going in both directions first, and then I measured out the sizes. So this is a 4 by 5. I measured 4 inches across, so that's 2 inches going this way and 2 inches going this way. And for the 5 inches, it's 2.5 inches and 2.5 inches, and that gives me a perfect 4 by 5 square in the middle of this black paper. And I did the same thing on this one and this one. Here's the large one. This is a 6.5 by 8 inch, and I've got these measurements right here on your materials list. So same thing, I found the center and then I measured halfway in both directions. Now this is the third option. This is a 5 inch by 5 inch. Now, of course, if you're using an A4 size picture plane, then you'll use the A4 size windows, which are in millimeters here on the list. So I've cut out the window, and I like to save this centerpiece because it makes a great template on drawing paper if I'm going to be drawing this size. So I'll put that aside for later, and then I'll turn this over. And this will work perfectly with our picture plane. So there's the viewfinder and the picture plane together, and the last item that we need are some little binder clips that will hold these together. These were a little bit tricky to cut out, but it's worth it. You can now use these items for many years to come. We've talked about everything you need for the Drawing Skills series. Remember, the materials list can be downloaded from the show notes. So now it's time for your first drawing assignments. These are the exact assignments that Betty Edwards would give you if she were here in the studio with us today. Your first 3 drawings are done with only a few guidelines. These are baseline drawings, and they're for your own personal comparison, or you could use them for bragging rights about your progress after we've completed the series. We'll call these your before drawings, and all of the drawings you do during and after this series will be your after drawings. Be sure to do these 3 drawings. Don't cheat yourself the experience of seeing your progress. Please complete these drawings before you move on to the next episode. You'll need about an hour to complete them. You may find this assignment challenging and frustrating, or not, but please stay with it and do your best. First, get a small mirror and set it up in front of you so that you can see your face. The first drawing is to create a self-portrait. Do your best to capture your own likeness, including details of your hair and any accessories such as glasses. Second, on a new sheet of paper, draw a person that you know from memory. You aren't going to know the exact details of your chosen person, but do your best to capture their likeness and any details that you can. Third, on another sheet of paper, draw your hand. Set up your non-dominant hand in front of you and draw it with as much detail as you can. When you've completed all 3 drawings, sign them, title them, and write the date. Remember, no matter how you feel about these drawings, we've not yet learned the 5 seeing skills. These are pre-instruction drawings. You'll put them away and we'll look at them at a later date after you have something to compare them to. You can keep them private, but I hope at some point you're willing to share them. Put them away for a while and let's get ourselves lost in the assignments ahead. Okay, we've gone over our materials and you're going to complete your pre-instruction drawings, the self-portrait, the portrait of someone that you know from memory, and your hand. Take a deep breath and relax because this is going to be a fun journey filled with aha moments. Next week, we'll learn how the brain works and how to activate the parts of the brain that are the most successful at drawing. And we'll complete our first drawing using the picture plane and the viewfinder. If you're not already an official student here in art class, please click the red subscribe button below. Your subscription helps to support the production of this class. Throughout the series, we'll meet about once a week and you can click the bell below to be reminded when the most current class is available. Please stay in contact with me. Leave comments and questions below. Tell me how you felt while completing the pre-instruction drawings. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, you can communicate with me there too. I'm really looking forward to our next class where we'll start to turn on the power of your own abilities. I'm Deanna. See you next week in art class.